Hello everyone! So today we will be drawing some super cool rainbow feathers. So I'm using over here just a really small piece of watercolour paper. This is only half the size of A4, so this is A5 size, but I just want to work on a small piece of paper to do these two very simple feathers today. So I have just drawn a couple of curves just going in different directions. One is curving off to the left, one off to the right. Now my feathers are each going to be different, so on the one on the right hand side I've just finished off the top line with a kind of teardrop shape, and on the top of the other one I'm just adding a little spiral. Now for the left hand feather, the one I'm working on right now, I am just going down from the top spiral nice and thin, getting a bit fatter with a nice wavy line, and that's ending at the stem near the bottom. So just leaving a little bit of a stem, maybe 1 centimeter sticking out the bottom. And as you can tell, as you can see here, I've actually left the left hand side a bit fatter of the feather and the right hand side a little bit thinner. That's so it looks like the feather's slightly twisted to one side. Now on the right hand side, I have taken this teardrop shape, created a smaller teardrop in the middle and lots of lines going around it until I reach the larger teardrop at the edge. So this is more of a kind of a peacock type feather design, and I'm creating a line going straight up from the middle there to a point and then curving around back down to the stem on both sides. Then on the left and on the right hand side of this feather, I'm going to be drawing just two very basic chunks which are coming up to a nice delicate point at the top and then going along in a curve till they reach near the bottom of the stem. Now that's the basic design for these feathers, nothing too fancy. I'm going to be going over all of these pencil lines with my black fine liner here. This is a permanent marker, so this will not dissolve when I add my watercolours later on. So it's always a good idea to go over your pencil lines. If you don't wish for them to be seen, then you can just erase them afterwards. If you were going to go straight ahead with watercolours with this, you would maybe just erase your pencil lines so that they were even lighter than they are right now, because if you go over them with a light colour of watercolour, you will still see pencil lines everywhere, and unless that is part of your design, then that doesn't look so nice. So on either side of this big feather, I'm just doing some little small wedges, and then I'm adding a couple of little sort of tufty bits coming out the end there, just giving them a little double edge around there. So I'm using this black fine liner to just shade in the tips of these sides of the feather and just adding a little dark edge around the top here. I also added some little spirals on both the left and the right hand side. So if you want some areas to stay black, rather than using black for your watercolours, which would mix and really dirty all the other nice bright colours you're using, you can just fill those in with your black fine liner. Now, if you don't have a black permanent marker like this, a fine liner, you can just use a black biro. Just a black ballpoint pen will work just as well, and it also will be completely waterproof when you're adding your watercolours, so it will not melt. Now going down the left-hand feather, I'm shading in some of the stem here black, and I've just added a whole bunch of sort of wedges going down the whole length of the feather and just giving a little double edge on either side. Now often the only reason I'm adding a double edge is because I've made a small mistake, perhaps. So I just kind of cover it up with a little double edge, and it looks like that was what I meant it to look like all along, and nobody will ever know. So just erasing the pencil here, making sure that that's all completely gone so it looks really nice and neat and crisp. Now, if you don't have watercolours, you could colour this in with pencil, you could colour this in with marker pens, so that would also look really cool, or you could just leave them black and white. Now, I'm trying out these great watercolours that you see here. Sorry, I was a bit slow, but you did get a quick flash of those. I will put another picture of them at the end so you can see which ones I'm using. Now these were generously gifted to me from the Art Academy, which is a fantastic art shop. It does online delivery if you're here where I live in Malta, and they have pretty much everything you could possibly need. So go and check out their website. I'm trying out these paints for them just to see what these paints are like, because I haven't used this brand before, and they're pretty good. So far, I'm really impressed with the quality of the pigment. As you can see, the colours are really nice and bright. Now, the colours which I'm using over here, I'm working quickly in this video. I've sped it up a little bit, so I'm not sure if you noticed, but I was actually adding one small drop of watercolours from this tube, and then I'm adding a whole bunch of water to this, probably about equal parts, 50-50 drops of water to paint. So it's quite diluted, and it's still really strong. Look, we've got a lot of pigment in there. So I'm working my way up the flower on the left with rainbow colours. So I've started with dark blue, but you could start with any colour of the rainbow. And I'm just using the same colours once my brush is dirty with those colours to fill in areas on the flower on the right. It's not going to be in rainbow stripes like the left-hand one, but it is still going to have all the same colours in it. Now, you don't have to go ahead and use rainbow colours. These are just some of my favourite colours, so that's what I've chosen to go with. But you could use a completely different palette. You could just go with earthy colours, like the natural kind of browns that might be in a bird's feather, although a peacock feather would be pretty bright. Or you could just use, you know, pinks and blues. It really doesn't matter. I think that the design of these feathers is quite nice and simple, and you can just add whichever detail and colours you like. You could also fill these feathers with lots more patterns, some lines and dots and swirly patterns, just using your black pen. That would also look super cool. So as you can see on the flower on the right, I'm actually achieving kind of a slightly blended effect, but I'm still leaving some of the lines of the brush showing there. I'm not trying to completely cover those because I wanted it to look like a real feather. So I'm adding one colour and then the next colour that's nearest to it in the rainbow, painting just slightly over the first colour that I've already done. So if you want to blend your colours, it's a good idea to have an area of overlap where one colour goes over the other colour and then they mix to kind of form like a mid-tone. Now I'm using some of the colours down the bottom on the right hand side here to just flick out really lightly with my brush, starting off with pressure and then flicking out till you have lifted the paintbrush right off the page, just to give a nice kind of tufty appearance. Now I'm just using a wet brush to go over these watercolours on the left hand side as well, and just flicking them out so that I get a very faded but really pretty kind of effect. So this is how they look when they are finished. They're pretty neat. And if you like this tutorial, why not check out my pattern tutorial available on YouTube also? Or why not head over to carlyart.org, where I have a whole online art school with heaps of projects waiting for you. Now, here are the details for the Art Academy. That's Art Academy Direct, and you can type in this code to get 5% off. And here are the watercolors I was using. Once again, there are 24 awesome colors there, and they are by Royal and Langnickel. Before we go, let's just take a quick look at some of the great artworks I have been receiving this week. Here is Clara with her beautiful Mexican skull and her drippy rainbow. This is a fantastic toucan from Mika. And Matthew has been busy. He's drawn this lovely Spinosaurus, the yellow submarine with his own very cool neon color palette there, BB-8, and even the Mexican skull. Well done, Matthew. Over here we have Connor's robots, his yellow submarine, and his Mexican skull, and he's even drawn the BB-8. Well done, Connor. These are so great. Oh my gosh, and a Spinosaurus. You guys have been so busy. Here is Root with her fantastic rainbow unicorn, and this is some really cool shaving foam art from Sophia. Just look at that beautiful marbling effect. All of these tutorials are available on YouTube, so if you see one of these pictures and you would like to create it for yourself, just check out my other videos. Here is a super cute owl as well from Dominic. Well done, you guys. Keep that work coming. I just